Have you always wanted to try Devil May Cry? Here's why now is the ideal time to get involved. Devil May Cry 5 is out now, and quite simply, it's brilliant. A scuzzy, swaggering welcome return to a series that managed to make white curtains and red trench coats feel genuinely aspirational. This is a game that can even make crossing your legs look cool. Just look at that. Anyway, Devil May Cry games traditionally have a learning curve that could sometimes feel unscalable. It's a series renowned and celebrated for being tough, an immovable barrier between the game and players who just want to shoot big guns and feel good about themselves. But the fifth game, displayed here in its scandalous 4K glory, is absolutely the place to start, even if your thumbs complain at the mere thought of S-rank combos. Not only is Devil May Cry 5 fantastic, it's a surprisingly welcome starting point for newcomers as well. And if you're an experienced Devil Hunter and you don't need this video, why not sit back and let those gloriously rendered 4K hairdos waft at you seductively. Lovely, let's go.
I suggest you do not fall behind.
First off, there are loads of options here to ease in new players. Combos can be set to auto, and there's a difficulty setting specifically for players new to the series. But before we get into the demonic weeds, I'll just say that you probably won't need them. If you played a Bayonetta or a Souls game or even something like Yakuza, Devil May Cry 5 systems will feel quite intuitive. By default, the game starts in Devil Hunter mode. This is nominally the game's harder difficulty. So if you're struggling with that, you can drop it down to the rather humiliating human mode, and nobody here will judge you. Assuming, of course, that you are actually human in real life. But as I mentioned before, you probably don't need to do this. It's something I'll talk about next, but if you take the time to explore the game, you'll easily find enough of the game's currency, red orbs, to brute force your way through the most difficult parts. So even though Devil Hunter feels like the highest difficulty mode, it isn't really. Those are only unlocked once you've completed the game. If you don't feel like dropping the difficulty, there are other elements that can make your life easier. The true joy of Devil May Cry 5 is chaining together elegant combos for S ranks and above, but if you're finding that hard, you can simply hold down the right stick to activate auto mode, which will make chaining your attacks much easier. But to reiterate what I said before, you're great at games and you probably don't need to do this. And on a similar note, a very quick one. The game will soon get you up to speed if you're unfamiliar with the world of Devil May Cry. It throws a host of new characters at you straight away, but by watching the History of DMC video, you can quickly learn who's who and what's what. It's an essential primer for anyone new to the universe, and it might prevent you confusing the setting of Redgrave City with London, even if they do look exactly the same, right down to the signage. You don't normally see those embedded in demons though. One of the more complicated elements of Devil May Cry 5 are Nero's Devilbreakers. These are mechanical arms crafted by Nico that provide powerful strategic attacks, perfect for finishing combos or breaking through enemy defences. There's a huge variety of options here, and it involves some tactical decision making because you can only use them in the order you equip them. If you need the next one along, you'll have to destroy the one that you're currently using. You can do this instantly by pressing the left bumper, but you're better off holding down B to do a charged attack, which will destroy the Devil Breaker but do serious damage at the same time. Doing this with the Gabera Breaker, for example, fires a satisfying laser beam you can control like a fire hose. If you're not sure what loadout to use, you can have Nico pick one for you based on what's coming up in the level ahead. This is a useful little touch, and it also encourages you to try out different arms so you don't play the whole game just using Overture. Just try and stay away from the Pasta Breaker unless you know you're making a salad.
Good choice.
And in similar Nico is amazing news, the red foam boxes scattered around Redgrave City usually signify that you're about to go into a boss fight. This is the perfect time to give Nico a call so you can tool up with fresh Devil Breakers, health boosts and gold orbs before a big fight. Health boosts, which come in the shape of blue orbs, also carry across all characters, so buy them soon if you're struggling. There's literally no reason to go into a boss fight underprepared, especially if you follow the advice in my next point. Calling Nico also means that you're treated to a cutscene of her parking her apparently indestructible truck, no matter whereabouts on the planet you are. Let's have a quick montage of that while we're here. Perfect. At first glance, Devil May Cry 5's emphasis on loadouts and preparation might make you think that the levels are bereft of pickups, but for a largely linear game, it's absolutely packed with alternate paths, hidden areas and secret missions, and it's very generous with its drops. Take the time to look around and you'll find stacks of red orbs. This is the game's main currency and it can be used on loads of stuff, upgrading your skills, bringing you back from the dead, and purchasing items that will increase your health. You can also use these to buy gold orbs, which essentially give you a mid-fight continue, allowing you to come back with full health and a full Devilbreaker magazine or Devil Trigger. With this in mind, take the time to look everywhere. Peek behind obvious paths to see if there's anything hidden, like an Easter egg hunt with more guts, and use the game's pathfinding tools to explore alternate routes. When you hold down the right stick, the game will automatically orientate you. Use this to discover the correct direction, then take the other paths. These almost always hide the more generous drops. You should also keep an eye out for the red Empusa enemies. These slow, resilient demons drop stacks of red orbs, so chase them down and do as much damage as quickly as possible, remembering that you can use Nero's grapple to stay on them when they run away. Finally, if you're really struggling for currency, remember that red orbs are persistent across all your playthroughs and difficulty settings. So if you're feeling strapped, you can hop into a human playthrough, grind for red orbs and explore everywhere in the early levels, then drop back into your primary playthrough.
Wow, I can make something truly awesome out of this.
When playing as V or Dante, you can activate your Devil Trigger by pressing the left bumper. The temptation is to ration this, but don't. Your Devil Trigger gauge fills up quite quickly, so you should use this whenever you're struggling, or if you just want to see one of Nightmare's absurdly cool entrance sequences. V also has the power to recharge his gauge quicker by reading from his book, like he's trying to impress a potential paramour at art college. And you don't need to keep holding this down either, simply press the left trigger and keep V out of range while his familiars get down to business. On a similar note, don't give up on the game until you've tried playing as V. He feels like a shortcut to SS rankings, and it's much easier to chain his combos together. And when you start adding Nightmare to the mix, things just get even more visually arresting. All of this is a great primer for when you finally start playing as Dante. He's a more complex character with 4 stances and a selection of ranged and melee weapons you can change on the fly. Starting with this number of options would have been completely overwhelming, but by the time you get to him, you'll be absolutely ready.
Come on, you don't think I can handle this gig on my own?
The game doesn't draw specific attention to them, but all your characters start off with a broad set of skills. Remember to check what they are in the skills menu and practice them in the void. Once you've learned these, remember that you can hit multiple buttons at once. This might feel a bit mashy, but it's helpful for increasing your style rank with V and Dante. When using V, for example, you can shoot with Griffin and melee with Shadow at the same time. And once you've learned how to ride Nightmare using Promote, you can use his attacks at the same time as well. Finally, for this section, don't overlook Nero's Exceed ability. You can rev his sword like a motorbike by repeatedly pressing the left trigger, which will power up your next melee attack, increasing damage and opening up different combo options. Also, it looks really cool. There's literally no reason not to do it. And my finale is the equivalent of a big group hug with all the characters from the game. Devil May Cry 5 is a cheerful, knowing, welcoming place to get acquainted with this series. It's genuinely funny in places, and the earnest performances and incredible facial capture make a story about demons and robot arms and massive evil trees seem somehow believable. Yes, it's about demons and death and the end of the world, but it also lets you beat up monsters with a demonic motorbike, and that is simply amazing. All this makes it feel like you're in on the joke, making it one of the greatest smart and stupid games I've played for years, and the changes mean that this time, everyone is invited to the party. Everyone apart from Gravity, that is. We have no use for you here, Gravity. Go on, off you pop. And that's your lot. Hopefully, if you've never given the series a chance, this will make you want to dye your hair white, if that's a thing that's even possible, and give the game a go. And if you're a lifelong DMC obsessive, please don't judge me too harshly on the lack of SSS combos. And as always, please remember to hit that like button if you found this video useful, and combo it up with the subscribe button if you're not already part of the channel. Thank you very much for watching.